ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं विश्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। जय गुरुदेव।
हरि ओम। जय गुरुदेव। ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ नवमोऽध्यायः। राजविद्या राजगुह्य योगो नाम। श्री भगवानुवाच इदं तु ते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्।
Jai Gurudev Bela. Just 1 second. When you say Rajavidya, Rajaguhya, Yogaha, that's it. No, Yogo Nama. That is already done in the beginning, right? So that is one. And this, it is Yajñatva. The Ja is actually silent. I've been meaning to say this. Yajñatva. That Ja is like, it's silent, sort of.
अस्तु,
Okay,
धन्यवाद.
just that. Yeah, just that.
धन्यवादः। राजविद्या राजगुह्ययोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं तु ते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्। राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदमुत्तमं प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। अश्रद्धधाना पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि। मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम्। भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः। यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गो महान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम् कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम् प्रकृतिं स्वामवष्टभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्राममिमं कृत्स्नम् अवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात् न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते अवजानन्ति मां मूढा मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितम् परं भावमजानन्तो मम भूतमहेश्वरम् मोघाशामोघकर्माणो मोघज्ञानाविचेतसः राक्षसीमासुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रिताः महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिताः भजन्त्यनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम् सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रताः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम् I should begin from which verse, Balaji? 8th verse, or I will repeat 7th. I think 7th we repeated, right? Yesterday.
Yeah, I think we did until 8. You can go back to 7 and maybe start from there.
Okay. सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम् कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्. All beings, O Arjuna, go to my Prakriti at the dissolution of the cycle of creation. Again, at the beginning of the cycle, I create them. All beings, sentient and inert, Sarva Bhutani, go to my Prakriti, Mamikam Prakritim Yanti. He does not say to me, but to my Prakriti. In saying this, Krishna reveals a certain fact. I will just quickly browse through the text. When one cycle comes to an end, it is called Kalpaksha, the completion or exhaustion of the cycle. At this time, all beings into a state of dissolution in my Prakriti. We will not translate the word Prakriti here. Again, in the beginning of the cycle, Punaha Kalpado. I release them, I project them, Tani Visrijami Aham. Here we prefixed to the verb Srija in Visrijami means I create each one as it was in the previous cycle. So the creation is the same as it was in all other cycles. To fulfill the karmas of the jivas, again the cycle begins. then it dissolves, and from the dissolved state, again, the creation arises. The created world has its being in me, and the dissolved world goes into my upadhi. What is this upadhi? And why should the Lord bring it in? Why should he not say it goes back into me? A pot, for instance, comes out of clay and goes back to the clay. The clay does not say it goes back to my upadhi. The existence and dissolution of a given object takes place in the place from which it arises. When the pot is destroyed, it goes back to its cause, the clay. And from that same cause is its creation. From the clay, the pot is born. Into clay, it resolves. And while it exists, it has its existence in clay. What is under discussion here is the dissolution of the world into the Prakriti of Bhagavan. Since he says, it goes into my Prakriti, it can be like saying, it goes into my bank account. I am not my bank account, it is very clear. Similarly, here, Bhagavan's Prakriti is the place where the created world resolves. He says, the existence of the world is in me, Matsthani, but its dissolution, Laya, is into my Prakriti. This seems to be a contradiction because we have seen that if a thing has come from a given material cause, into that it resolves. If from Ishvara the world has come into Ishvara, the world should go back. But instead, he says it goes into my Prakriti. This is not a contradiction, but a deliberate expression. We will see why. Why does Bhagavan say my Prakriti? When Bhagavan says, all these beings have their beings in me, Matsthani, Sarva Bhutani, are they attributes of Paramatma? If so, Paramatma has the intrinsic attribute of the Jagat and is always Saguna. If that is the case, Paramatma can never be free from those attributes. But our experience is entirely different. If we analyze the nature of Atma, we find it is free from all attributes. At any given moment, between two thoughts, what exists is Paramatma, which is Chaitanya, free from any form of limitation. Intrinsically, Paramatma is free from attributes, Nirguna. Only because of that is moksha possible. If Paramatma is intrinsically free from the Jagat, then when Bhagavan says, Matsthani, it exists in me, it is only through some other factor. That factor is what we call Maya. It is the Maya Upadhi that makes Paramatma into Ishvara. Purely due to Upadhi, Paramatma becomes all-knowing and all-powerful, the creator of everything. Due to a similar type of Upadhi, you have limited knowledge, Alpagnanatva, and so on. As Atma, your Swarupa is Sat Chit Ananda. It is pure consciousness, which is Satya and limitless. Then how do you become one of limited knowledge, limited power, limited pervasiveness? Due to Upadhi. Upadhi gives rise to a point of view. You view the Atma from the standpoint of a physical body, mind, sense complex, then say, I am limited, etc. It is an unfortunate statement, but it is not true. Atma has not become Alpagna. It continues to be Sat Chit Ananda. That is why I can say Tat Tvam Asi. You are Satchit Ananda. If someone asks, Swamiji, if I am Satchit Ananda, how do I become Alpagnya? The question itself is wrong because Sat Chit Ananda does not become anything. If you are Sat Chit Ananda, you cannot become Alpagnya. There is a notion that one was originally Sat Chit Ananda and gradually over a period of time due to a number of births became Alpagnya. Then it has to evolve back. The contention is that we are all in the cycle of evolution. Evolution of what? If Satchit Ananda is to evolve, what will it become? Now it is limitless, free from attributes. What is the part of it that evolves? How can Sat existence evolve? The evolution of existence is only destruction. But this is an existence that is limitless. There is no possibility of evolution for such an existence. Can consciousness evolve? Something that has an attribute can evolve, but consciousness, which is pure existence, free from any attribute, cannot evolve. And as we have seen, it is limitless. Thus, there is no evolution for Sat Chit Ananda. Anything within samsara can evolve. You draw an arbitrary line, and any level beyond that, you can call evolution. This human body may be an evolute because the human mind has a better capacity than the minds of other life forms. But the one who determines that this is an evolute is Alpagnya. And when you say, I am of limited knowledge, Alpagnu Aham, that Aham remains Sat Chit Ananda. The property of limited knowledge, Alpagnanatva, is purely an attribute, an incidental attribute attributed to you by taking a point of view. For example, a modern artist may draw a table from the perspective of one who is looking at it from a position of lying down. It may not look like a table at all. It is just a perspective. That kind of table is not found anywhere. Similarly, you look at Satchit Ananda from the perspective of your limping physical body, your aging brain cells, etc., and say, I have limited power, limited knowledge, limited pervasiveness. It is a perspective. Although the drawing had something to do with the table, this perspective has nothing to do with the table. The same is true with Sat Chit Ananda Atma. If being limited is your view of yourself, it is due to Upadhi and has nothing to do with Sat Chit Ananda. The same Sat Chit Ananda appears as though it is Alpagnya. Because it is limitless, there is nothing that is apart from Sat Chit Ananda. As the cause of everything, Sat Chit Ananda has to assume the status of being all-knowing, almighty. This we call God, Ishvara. But the attributes like all-knowing and almighty are incidental attributes from the standpoint of the Jiva's way of looking at the world. And when you look at this world, the same Satchitananda becomes the onlooker as well as Ishvara, the cause of everything. All names are his names. All forms are his forms. Therefore, You have any number of words to describe Ishvara, all due to some upadhi called Maya upadhi or Prakriti upadhi. Therefore, when Krishna says as Ishvara, Matsthani Sarvabhutani, they are me, he is including the Maya upadhi in that me. Only then can he say all the beings have their basis in me. He becomes the cause of everything due to Maya Upadhi. Through Maya Upadhi alone, all the beings have their being in Paramatma. By itself, Paramatma is free from the creation because it is free from all attributes. So with Maya alone does Bhagavan say, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani. When I look at Paramatma as the cause of the entire Jagat, then Maya exists in Paramatma as its Shakti. In Maya alone, they exist and resolve, and from Maya they are born. Are Bhagwan and Maya two different entities? Now we have a problem. There is no other thing except Atma, Brahman. It is non-dual. If Brahman has Maya in itself, Brahman is one thing, Maya is another, and we have two things. If fundamentally there are two, there is multiplicity, and that is not acceptable because Brahman is non-dual, Advaya. But when we say one is Brahman and the second is Maya, we really do not have this problem. That is because Maya is an interesting word. In Sanskrit, it is defined as follows: Ya ma sa Maya. That which is not is Maya. That is to say that Maya has no independent reality. It really does not exist. From one standpoint, there is Maya. From the other, there is no Maya, only Brahman. If you look at Brahman as the cause of creation, it has Maya. That is why it is said, Maya Sabalam Brahma. Maya Sabalam Brahma. From the standpoint of itself, there is no Maya. There is only Satchit Ananda. Maya is not an independent object enjoying a reality like Satchit Ananda Atma because Maya is Mithya. Mithya is defined as something that does not exist apart from the Adhisthana on which it is dependent on. Mithya is therefore Adhisthana Ananya. Just like your shirt, which has no existence apart from its fabric, similarly, Maya is not a substance separate from Brahman. If it exists in its own right, we can say Maya and Brahman together create the world. Their getting together is the cause for creation. But they are not two independent factors because Maya is not independent from Brahman. That is why we can worship the Lord as male or female. The string of 1,000 names, Sahasranamavali of any Devata will invoke that particular Devata as the one who is the creator of everything, sustainer of everything, destroyer of everything, that is, who is everything. Then for the Devi, the goddess or Maya Shakti, the string of 1,000 names will say the same thing. She is the creatrix of everything, the sustainer of everything, the destroyer of everything. She is everything. This is another way of looking at the fact that there is only Ishvara. There is Ishvara from the standpoint of power, Shakti, and Ishvara without Shakti. To think of two different entities, Ishvara and Maya, has no meaning at all because Maya, the Shakti, is not independent of Ishvara. Like the capacity to burn is not independent of fire. Maya Shakti is not independent of Brahman because it is the power of Brahman itself. From the standpoint of viewing Brahman as the cause of everything, you say it is Brahman with the power Maya. Maya Sabalam Brahma. But there is no problem of duality. One is Satya, the other is Mithya, and Satya plus Mithya is still one Satya. When you stand before a mirror and see your reflection, there appears to be two of you, two heads, two mouths, two feet, and hundreds of other problems. But you know it is not so. You know there is still only one you because you know that the reflection is mithya. 1 plus 1 does not make 2 here. Even if you stand in a house of mirrors and see infinite reflections, there is still only one you. The only difference is all the images in the mirror are identical, but in Ishvara Srishti, no two things look the same, not even two thumbs. The variety is infinite. Moreover, none of the reflections you see in the mirror is taken seriously. You cannot be detracted from or improved upon in a mirror. If you go to one upadhi, a concave mirror, and you see yourself elongated, or you go to another upadhi, a convex mirror, and see yourself widen, you do not get alarmed. You are amused. Why? Because you know that it is mithya. If it were real, it would be a problem. Being mithya, there is no problem. Mithya undergoes changes. Satya remains the same. This means in the Satya Vastu, there are no changes.
Jai
Nama
Gurudev.
Rupas.
Yeah,
Yes.
just wanted to share this with respect to this mirror example. When different mirrors, sometimes convex, concave, they give you different image of yourself. What occurred to me and what I wanted to share was the aspect of being a football of others' opinions. So often in life, we base our life on others' opinions based on how they look at us, and we think that is what we are. So it is only like the example of these different mirrors. It is only an illusion. So what we need stay forth is grounded with that, the fact that we are that Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, and not these changing facets that that people kind of mirror that we are. So that football, don't be a football of others' opinions, comes in, um, with this, can be synced in with this mirror example. I just wanted to share that. Yeah, go ahead, Bela.
Yeah, so beautiful. And one another thing also Swamiji said that you cannot correct your image in the mirror. You have to work on the real. And we keep correcting our images, right? Which is mithya, without correcting the fundamental error.
Which is true. We might be living all our life or lifetimes trying to polish the
mirror image.
The mirror image. But going to the fundamental problem that I am alpajnaha, I am kinchignaha, I am insecure. That is that is the thing that we need to tackle. And then no mirror is required. I mean, you are
correct.
You are the only one. Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
What did he say? You cannot improve yourself. Means soul cannot be changed. Like that, he something said in the previous paragraph.
We don't
Who
need
are
to
you
change
going to?
anything, my dear. We are that, and it doesn't require any changes. The attributes, all attributes we see because of that mithya, the mirror image, because of the upadhi, maya upadhi, we have those all convex and concave mirror images. Somebody will say you are that. Or sometimes people don't say, but we assume, we apprehend that I can't do this because I don't have that talent.
Correct.
The soul is Satchit Ananda. It doesn't require any correction or any change. It is that pure. It is pure. You are that right now also.
So the thing is, from moving from I am, say, angry, or I am sad, or I am beautiful, I am ugly, which different mirrors portray, you'll have to stay with the I am and not the attributes of different attributes that different mirrors, different people portray us to be. And forget other people. We ourselves think of ourselves as so many different things. We have different opinions of our own self. So staying with that I am and not I am dash 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 dash. So those dashes we'll have to negate.
This is so powerful, whatever just now going on last 5 minutes. Even if we can catch on this and hold on this, this whole 2 years sadhana is done. My God, Jai Gurudev.
And the same goes even with others. We have to accept all others as I am. No need to label even others. That's what I think.
Gurudev
Very
says,
true.
no, you are a mirror image. The people in front of you are yours only, your mirror image only. So, like that.
This reveling in the Dehabhyas and Jeev Bhav, we really need to reduce it slowly. The window on our screens of life.
Yeah, Madhuriji, last year you had given a beautiful example of Hanuman, Lord Hanuman. If you remember, could you please, that when he's in Dehabhyas, then he's having that bhakti as the, you remember?
Yeah, Jai Gurudev.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lord Rama asks Hanuman, how it is like being Hanuman. Something like that, Lord Rama asks. The answer, Hanumanji says, like, Deha Bhavat Aham Dasotvam. In the Deha Bhav, whenever I am in Deha Bhav, I am your Das. I am your Sevekari. And Jiva Bhavat Tvam Anshoham. Whenever I am in Jiva Bhav, I am your Ansh, your part. And Atma Bhavat Tvamevaham. Whenever I am in Atma Bhav, there is no difference between you and me. That's what Lord Rama said. Lord Hanumanji said.
Yeah, dhanyavad. That is so
Deha
beautiful.
Bhav, yeah, Deha Bhav, I am Das.
Mhm.
This body, through body, I am just a volunteer. I am doing all the seva. And whenever the Jeev Bhav is there, I am the part of you. And whenever I am reveling in the Atma Bhav, there is no difference.
I am
It's
you.
all,
Mhm.
yes. So
Dhanyavad.
beautiful.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, that's very nice. I also sorry it got late. That the one thing it came to my mind, that I am everything and everything is in you. When you say that, like even I think the previous verse where that Pashyam something, he that that Lord Krishna said,
Pachame Yogam Aishwaram.
right, Pashyam Yoga Ashram. One of the thing, he says, the Arjuna also can say that I am Brahman and I am everything. So similar to that, like when we say I am everything, that means you are out of this body. You're not in the body at all, So it's actually you're one with everything. So everything also is completely dissolved, like that's the only way you can say that I am everything, like it just dissolves in you. And then everything is in you, meaning this whole consciousness. So that means to come to that point, how good you have to be, like perfect. Remember when we say this knowledge to occur, your mind has to be purified, your this to really to get that knowledge. Then even to get there, the sadhana sadhistayam needed, you need to be that adhikari and all that from, if you have that only, you can even get to this point. So if really, if we have to do, I'm everything and everything is in you, that's the knowledge part. I mean, the end part of it looks like. And to really get there, how much you have to, I mean, it one way to look at it is it's simple, but at the same time, that's how I felt like, like it's more of it just the space, that's the empty space, that's only I can think of when we see hear that I am everything and everything is in you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. So with that note, I'll just repeat the last week. It's very, very important aspect. When you stand before a mirror and see your reflection, there appears to be two of you, two heads, two mouths to feed, and hundreds of other problems. But you know it is not so. You know there is still only one you, because you know that the reflection is mithya. 1 + 1 does not make 2 here. Even if you stand in a house of mirrors and see infinite reflections, there is still only one you. The only difference is all the images in the mirror are identical, but in Ishvara's Srishti, no two things look the same, not even two thumbs. The variety is infinite. Moreover, none of the reflections you see in the mirrors is taken seriously. You cannot be detracted from or improved upon in a mirror. If you go to one upadhi, a concave mirror, and you see yourself elongated, or you go to another upadhi, a convex mirror, and you see yourself widened, you do not get alarmed. You are amused. Why? Because you know that it is mithya. If it were real, it would be a problem. Being mithya, there is no problem. Mithya undergoes changes. Satya remains the same. That means in the Satya Vastu, there are no changes. Nama Rupas change, Vastu does not. It is the cause of all of them. It is the cause that never changes. Therefore, Paramatma plus Maya does not make two. One reality plus an infinite number of Nama Rupas is still one. From this standpoint alone, Bhagavan says, they resolve into me. Only because of this mithya was it said, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani. And from his own standpoint, Nacha Matsthani Bhutani. Again he says, Kalpakshaye Sarva Bhutani Mamikam Prakritim Yanti. Again at the end of the Kalpa, all the beings resolve into my Prakriti. To say they go back to my Prakriti or they go back to me are both right, because the Prakriti has no separate existence other than Ishvara. When it is proved that creation is mithya, we have to accept a mithya cause, which is Maya Upadhi, another word that is used for the Shakti of Brahman. Because of this alone, Brahman becomes the cause. Brahman, however, does not undergo any change and is therefore, as we have seen before, Vivarta Upadana Karana. Brahman is both the efficient cause and material cause. But how can Bhagwan be the material cause which must necessarily undergo change to become this variegated world? Even though the creation is non-separate from the cause, Brahman cannot undergo even an apparent change to create this world. We saw that Brahman remains the same, and therefore we say it is the Vivarta Upadana Karana. There are two types of Upadana Karana. One is Vivarta Upadana Karana and the other is Parinami Upadana Karana. When the thing that is the material cause undergoes a change to become the effect, then it is called Parinami Upadana Karana. And if it does not undergo any change to become the effect, it is called Vivarta Upadana Karana. Now, from the standpoint of the world, Brahman is the Vivarta Upadana Karana, because it is the cause that does not undergo any change. But whatever changes that are necessary are undergone only by Maya. Therefore, Maya is the Parinami Upadana Karana for this world. Thus, if you say Brahman is the material cause, then it is Vivarta Upadana Karana. And if you say Maya is the cause, it is the Parinami Upadana Karana. Thus, Brahman undergoes no change and at the same time makes all changes possible. It is like how the rope is the Vivarta Upadana Karana for the snake and consciousness is the Vivarta Upadana Karana for your dream. The dreamer is Chaitanya, the dream world is Chaitanya, and the dream experience is Chaitanya. But without the Chaitanya, there cannot be any creation, and therefore Chaitanya is Vivarta Upadana Karana, and your own memory becomes the Parinami Upadana Karana. Similarly, Brahman alone is the cause for the whole creation as Vivarta Upadana Karana, and Maya is the Parinami Upadana Karana. Thus, through the Upadi, it becomes efficient cause, Nimitta Karana. Through the Upadi, it becomes material cause, Upadana Karana. If you want me to repeat anything before we go to the next 8th verse, please let me know. I think it is very clear right now, right? Our knowledge of Atma Bodh and Tattva Bodh is so appropriate. Here it is so clear now. The Vivarta Upadana Karana and Parinami Upadana Karana. Bhagavan points out in the next verse that he is the efficient cause through this Maya. Prakritim swamavashtabhya visrujami punah punah bhutagramamimam krutsnam avasham prakritir vashat. Swam prakritim, my own prakriti, avashtabhya, controlling, punah punah, again and again, imam krutsnam bhutagramam. This entire group of beings, avasham, necessarily, prakritehe vashat, by force of prakriti, visrujami, I create. Swam prakritim avashtabhya punah punah imam kritsnam bhutagramam avasham prakrite vashat visrujami. Keeping my own prakriti under control, again and again, I create this entire group of beings necessarily by the force of Prakriti. Keeping my own Prakriti under control, again and again, I create this entire group of beings necessarily by the force of Prakriti. Visrujami punah punah, again and again I create. After the dissolution, at the end of each kalpa, I again create myself. Does that mean I undergo a change? No. I repeat this sentence. Visrujami punah punah, again and again I create. After the dissolution, at the end of each kalpa, I again create myself. Does that mean I undergo a change? No. Prakritim swam avashtabhyah. Kshamyatam. Prakritim swam avashtabhyah. Keeping my own prakriti, my own Maya Upadhi in my hands, I create. This is the difference between the Jiva and Ishvara. Ishvara keeps Maya under his control. The Jiva comes under the spell of Maya or Avidya until he is released from it. Please remember here, Dr. Brahmaraj is Atma Rama and Indriya Rama. the difference between Prakritim Swam Avashtabhya, keeping my own Prakriti, my own Maya Upadhi in my hands I create. This is the difference between the Jiva and Ishvara. Ishvara keeps Maya under his control. The Jiva comes under the spell of Maya or Avidya until he is released from it. Therefore, the Lord says, keeping this Maya in my hands, I create again and again. Swam Prakritim Avashtabhya Visrujami Punaha Punaha. What does he create? Bhuta Gramam Imam Kritsnam. This entire group of bhutas, meaning the whole Jagat, what is seen by you in its entirety, I create. Aham Visrujami. One may ask, why do you do that? All my problems are only because I find myself in this creation. So why did you create all this? Why did God create the world? Avasham means it is something that has to take place. Is my voice breaking too much? Because there is a continuous notification. Please do let me know if I have to repeat anything. I am repeating the last line. One may ask, why do you do that?
Can you read the full, like those 4 lines again?
Yeah.
What does he create? Yeah, from there.
Yeah. What does he create? Bhuta Gramam Imam Kritsnam. This entire group of bhutas, meaning the whole Jagat. What is seen by you in its entirety, I create. Aham Visrujami. One may ask, why do you do that? All my problems are only because I find myself in this creation. So why did you create all this? Why did God create the world? Avasham means it is something that has to take place. That is, without any will on the part of Ishvara, this takes place. This question, why did God create the world, has been asked millions of times. Any answer is only imaginary. The stock answer is that it is all Bhagwan's Leela. It is all a sport for the Lord. But why does Bhagwan need a sport, Leela? Is he restless or bored or lonely? If he is, then how is he the Lord? Then he is as much a sansari as me, the Jiva. The Lord answers this question by saying that he did not really create anything at all. Only when he has created does he have to answer this question. In the next line, he is going to say that he did not create anything. Assuming that there is a creation, we can only say that it came about without any will on his part. How then did it come? Prakriti Vasha. Because of the force of Prakriti alone, the creation takes place. The nature of Prakriti is to create. The Lord, but you cannot say the same thing. Why do you think about a given thing at a particular time? It is by the force of the same Prakriti. If you say, I think, you have a problem. When you say Prakriti thinks, you have no problem. What is applicable right now here for you is also applicable to Bhagavan, because Atma is common and the Srishti is typical. A given thought is born in your head. That is, after all, a Srishti even though you do not will to create a given thought. There is, of course, deliberate thinking. But what we are talking about here is a thought that just occurs in your head without your willing. Why did this particular thought occur? Why is it created? It takes place naturally. Prakruteh vashat. Your will is not involved. Then how can you assume responsibility for it? It is your thought, no doubt, but you have nothing to do with it because you have no will regarding it. This is true for a jnani or an agnani. Both have nothing to do with the thought that occurs without any willing. So let it occur, and though there may be some cause, we are not concerned with that. It is prakrute vashat. So beautiful.
Do you mind reading? I know that paragraph is a big one, but
Yeah, sure,
can
sure.
you read it again? This is kind of
Very important, correct. I will read.
yeah, thank you.
Prakrute vashat. Because of the force of Prakriti alone, the creation takes place. The nature of Prakriti is to create. Not only the Lord, but you can also say the same thing. I repeat, not only the Lord, but you can also say the same thing. Prakruteh vashat, that statement. Prakruteh vashat, because of the force of Prakriti alone, the creation takes place. The nature of Prakriti is to create. Not only the Lord, but you can also say the same thing. Why do you think about a given thing at a particular time? It is by the force of the same Prakriti. If you say, I think, you have a problem. When you say, Prakriti thinks, you have no problem. What is applicable right now here for you is also applicable to Bhagavan because Atma is common and the Srishti is typical. A given thought is born in your head. That is, after all, a Srishti, even though you do not will to create a given thought. There is, of course, deliberate thinking. But what we are talking about here is a thought that just occurs in your head without your willing. Why did this particular thought occur? Why is it created? It takes place naturally. Prakriteh pashat. Your will is not involved. Then how can you assume responsibility for it? It is your thought, no doubt, but you have nothing to do with it because you have no will regarding it. This is true for a jnani or an agnani. Both have nothing to do with the thought that occurs without any willing. So let it occur, and though there may be some cause, we are not concerned with that. It is prakruteh vashat. An agnani has another type of thought which is born of his own will. When he wills a given thought, he will of course claim authorship for it. Because he has ahankara, he thinks he is creating the thought. The jnani will also have this type of thought, but he looks upon this so-called will as a part of Prakriti. This is very important. I read it again. Please pay attention. An agnani has another type of thought which is born of his own will. When he wills a given thought, he will of course claim authorship for it. Because he has ahankara, he thinks he is creating the thought. The Jnani will also have this type of thought, but he looks upon this so-called will as a part of Prakriti. In his vision, even while thinking, he does not think. Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, walking, etc., I perform no action at all. Chapter 5, verse 8. I would love to recite it again and again. It is so beautiful. नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् श्वसन् गच्छन् स्वपश्वसन्. Kindly forgive me if I am pronouncing it wrong, or please correct me. So I perform no action at all. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sparshan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Naiva Kinchit Karomi. This is the Jnani's thought. This is the difference between the Ajnani and Jnani. Both have the experience. Both have the experience of finding themselves with an unsolicited thought, prakrute vashat. The Ajnani thinks that he created the thought because he thinks he is a karta. I repeat, this is the difference between the Ajnani and Jnani. Both have the experience of finding themselves with an unsolicited thought, prakrute vashat. The Ajnani thinks that he created the thought because he thinks he is a karta. Then the confusion is further compounded. He assumes responsibility for the very thought that occurs without his will and feels guilty about it. Then through therapy, etc., he tries to develop some kind of a distance, but he still has ahankara. Therefore, the problem is going to reoccur in one form or another. But there is also deliberate thinking on his part, for which he will certainly claim authorship because he has the notion, I am an author. Ajnani, however, has eliminated the notion that he is the author of any action by seeing that Atma is a karta. If Atma is a karta, then because of the force of Prakriti alone, thoughts happen. There is no willing or wishing or any kind of action. All these just take place, and it is as though I do something and as though I do not do anything. It is as though things take place of their own accord, prakrute vashat. Should I stop here, or someone can take over, or I need some help? Anyway, should I stop here or we can continue? Please let me know. It is already time and it is very beautiful topic. Can we do this tomorrow? If anyone can take over and read the, I think 1.5 pages remaining, then we can read.
I can read. I don't know, Dr. Brahmara.
Or because it is already time. The time is up.
You
So-
want to do Manana?
Yeah.
Time
just-
is up, no? So better we will continue it tomorrow. So more properly.
Okay,
we
let's
can
do
it.
Manana on this and then till
Yeah,
for
I'll
10
just
minutes.
read
Yeah.
shloka, what we covered today. I think 6th, 7th, and 8th. I will just read. Yathakashasthito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani tyupadharaya. Just as the vast air which goes everywhere always exists in space, similarly, may you understand that all beings exist in me. Sarvabhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpadau visrujamyaham. All beings, O Arjuna, go to my Prakriti at the dissolution of the cycle of creation. Again, at the beginning of the cycle, I create them. Prakritim swamavashtabha Srujami punah punah bhutamamimam krutsnam avasham prakrutir vashat. Keeping my own prakriti under control again and again, I create this entire group of beings necessarily by force of prakriti. With that, let us close our eyes and just be with one whole creation, whole prakriti around us, and then we will share our takeaways. Hariom, Jai Gurudev, kindly share your takeaways. It was very, very beautiful today. My takeaway for today is let us correct and let us not bother about the mirror image. We are that Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And with that oneness, whatever is happening in our life, let's be with the existence itself. Kindly share everyone. Even if it is a small one-line takeaway, I request everyone to share because this knowledge is, every word is so powerful and each one will have its his or her own understanding. So please share whatever you have understood. I request everyone to share, please.
Just like how Bhagwan or Brahman creates the world again and again, we actually have this experience on a day-to-day basis. When we go to bed, it is like pralaya. And when we wake up, it is like the kalpa again. And when we go to bed, everything dissolves. There is no body, mind, sense complex. There is no ahankara even. You just are in that deep sleep. Just that consciousness is there. The prajna is there. And when you wake up again, you create the whole world again. And this happens cyclically, day after day. So when we extrapolate this to the level of the cosmos, that is what Brahman does. That is what Prakriti does. From his Brahman does, wielding his power of Maya, his Shakti. This actually brings to my mind the fact that Dr. Dur, he's a nuclear physicist. He had once, I had quoted this so many times also before, he had told Gurudev, I had studied matter for about 3 decades, only to know that it does not exist. So which brings us to the fact that the seeming Jagat, the seemingly real Jagat, full of matter, is actually non-existent. It is all mithya. It is just like the illusion, the snake on the rope or the mirage on the road. What is Satya? What is that existence? That is the truth. That is the existence, that I am. Even that am will disappear. It's only I that exists. Yeah. Anyone else wants to share?
Previously, I was thinking Prakritim Ashtabhya, like Prakriti has a 8, means it is binded by 8 things, no? That Pancha Bhutas and Sri Mana Buddhi Ahankara. So I was thinking again he creates like that Pancha Mahabhutas and Man Ahankar Buddhi. So when he says I create again, so it is getting created. Prakriti is creating it. So and here it is said it is controlling Prakriti Ashtabhyam. Like that. That word I was not getting properly.
Yeah, the word is actually avashtabhya. It is not ashtabhya.
Okay.
Ashta is, yes, what you say is ashta is 8. But then here the word is avashtabhya.
Means controlling. Okay.
Means controlling. Swam prakritim avashtabhya. So this verse is so in sync with what we're doing right now in chapter 6. I mean, there is really no control over our thoughts. They just come. But they have a basis. And that is the basis that we will discover in chapter 6.
So that's
And here
thought.
they have given also what power the thought has. So
the thoughts
I'm not able to explain properly, but somewhere it is said. Means from there we can conclude the power of thought.
The way it was explained, I thought the force of the nature that gives rise to these thoughts in our mind.
Come again, Dr. Mara. You can understand what you said. Yeah, one of you can speak. I think both wanted to speak. I think you're muted, maybe one of you. We can't hear.
No, the force of the nature contributes to the thought, it says, right? I mean, so I'm wondering what is that force is like. It's again, it's from the Maya, right? I mean, is it coming from the Maya?
Correct. Coming
Okay.
from Maya, and like in chapter 6, we saw the previous two verses that it has, the thoughts have their, we remember we read about sadness, anger. They're not instinctive like hunger and sleep. They have a
Right.
base. It's a way of thinking that makes you sad, makes you angry. And the basis of that, it has its roots in childhood. It has its roots in our orientation, how we have been brought up, how we have lived our life. So that is the basis of of uh, how we relate, and in a subtle manner, that is the reason why we get the thoughts that we have. Most of the thoughts come because of Prakriti, because of the force of Prakriti. But even that has a basis. For instance, it depends on the kind of lifestyle you're living, see, a yogi, a sadhak will not get thoughts of wanting to go to a gambling den, or wanting to go and, splurge money. A sadhak will not get those thoughts, isn't it? The thoughts he gets are cultured by his orientation, his way of how he has, what thoughts he's been entertaining, what kind of dharmic life he's living. So that ultimately will determine the kinds of thoughts we get.
Right.
I don't know whether I'm saying it right, but then there are some times that even if for a jnani, there may be a thought that there is this example of the sadhu who goes to the king's palace for dinner, and then he pockets the silver spoon and the plate, and he goes off. The reason why he does that is only because the food that was given, was offered, was confiscated by some robbers. So that effect was there. So there is a cause for everything ultimately, but it is because of Prakriti, the force of Prakriti, that these things happen. So this jnani had no control over that. So that probably is an example of Prakritim Swam Avashtabhya. Isn't
So
it?
when it says nature of Prakriti in one place, it said, I thought Prakriti is what is the nature, right?
No, that Prakriti is different. Here the Prakriti is likened to Maya Shakti.
So each one of us, we say our own Prakriti, that means our Prakriti, what causes these thoughts in terms of that, our own Prakriti.
The thing is, we have the same word has many meanings. I think in this context, I think how we need to understand this Prakriti here in this context, Prakriti is in the form of the Maya Shakti. Yeah.
All right.
And you are right in a way. It is based on our Prakriti, that is our own characteristics, the nature of our mind, that we probably get the thoughts we get. See, we will not get thoughts of wanting to kill and murder someone, do we?
Right.
No. But a terrorist has these thoughts. So that is his Prakriti, and this is our Prakriti. So I think if we delve a little deeper, in a way, I think Swamiji had explained this in chapter 6.
Okay. We'll read it then. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. He was talking about the agitation of the mind, acceptance is the first step. In this previous verse, stress is not a factor.
Yeah,
See, this one,
Sanchalavat. Yeah, you were reading Sanchalavat.
yeah, sadness implies a certain type of thinking.
Mm,
And Bhaktajana Papadi. This one, yeah. See, the mind is very much present, but at the same time, it does not take your permission. Sadness, I'm just going to read this. Sadness means there is a particular type of thinking going on. Without thinking, you cannot be sad. Sadness is not like hunger, thirst, or sleep. Without thinking, you become hungry. Without thinking, you go to sleep, especially after a big meal. And in the morning, without thinking, you are hungry as a wolf. So to be hungry, you do not have to think, whereas to be sad, you do. In fact, to be sad, angry, hateful, agitated, depressed, frustrated, you need to think a lot. The mind is very much present, but at the same time, it does not take your permission. It implies two people here. One who is cultured, highly educated, highly sophisticated, and very considerate, and whose language, style, demeanor, and decorum are quite different from the other person, the angry person. This person seems to have a parallel life, occupying the same mind and the same place. But this person seems to have his or her own roots and definitely seems to be in charge. And when this person takes charge, everything is gone. This is what is called pramathin here, a tyrant that can disturb and take control of the body, mind, senses, everything. One may now ask, if it takes charge like this, why not take control of it with some other greater force? This actually we've done earlier, but I'm just going through it one more time. After all, if someone wants to control you, you can also control that person. All you require is to reinforce yourself properly with enough weapons, enough strength. Then you regain control. But this kind of reinforcement does not work here. Whatever strength I manage to muster for myself to control this pramathin is not adequate. The other always seems to be stronger. It controls me and it is strong, balavat. Its hold is so strong that I cannot wrench myself away from its control. I cannot even wriggle out of it, nor can anyone else get out from under it either. So this paragraph actually talks of this, how the thoughts in our mind that come are not really under our control. They're all in the hands of Prakriti.
right. Yeah.
Isn't
So
it?
that it does say, that's why I was wondering, like, it is actually true. Sometimes we don't have control over things. Okay, we don't want to do this particular thing, but then we still end up doing it. you know, um, or you wanted to finish certain work within given time, but somehow your time you get drawn into some other things. So so that I always wonder, why you're not able to come out of this sometimes. That now it says like some force of prakriti or nature by itself. Yeah,
Mm.
but we still have to
The
make an effort to change it, right? Yeah. Mm.
thoughts will be there all the time. They will come and go. Only thing is how much we get associated with any particular thought and try to put it into action. That Viveka has, the Prakriti has given that Viveka being in the human form. So that Viveka we need to develop. So killing someone or anything, any kind of thoughts, because it depends on Prakriti and your own sanskaras, what you have eaten last 3 days, and so many factors. The kind of thoughts come depend on so many factors. But on the top of it, the main thing is that Viveka is given by Prakriti to us, and we need to develop that strong Nishchayatmika Buddhi. Then any thought comes and goes, like clouds in the sky, in the space, the thoughts will come and go. They will not bother you. And that much you need to become established into the Atma Bhav, then it will not bother you at all. Any thoughts will come and go, but Viveka you need to put there as a toll gate, that which thought I am going to entertain and which thoughts just then let them go. Jai Gurudev. It's not like my thought, oh, why this thought has come to me, this is my thought. Thoughts are that in the Manomaya Kosha, all kinds of languages, thoughts, everything is there in the space. How we get hooked on to any kind of thought at that moment of time, it depends on many factors which are not under our control. But the Viveka, the toll gate is under our control, and we need to develop that with all these practices and spiritual path. That is my understanding. Brahmaraj, you can help.
You're very right. Yeah. So we'll just go to what Bhagavan said. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Gruhyate. He says, Bhagavan said, no doubt, O mighty armed Arjuna, the agitated mind is very difficult to control. But, O son of Kunti, by practice and objectivity, it is mastered. So here, I think we read this yesterday. Bhagavan says, yes, he agrees that the mind is certainly difficult to control. Who says the mind is not restless? To recognize that the mind is restless is to have won half the battle. Suppose someone tells me that his or her mind is agitated, and I say that getting agitated is not good at all, that it does not solve anything, and therefore do not get agitated. All that will happen is that the person will become more agitated. What use is such advice? It is not as though the person wants to get agitated. Therefore, this particular advice is useless. Telling someone not to get agitated does not help at all. Whereas, if one accepts agitation as the nature of the mind, half the battle is won. At least you will not be agitated. You will settle down in your mind when you realize that the mind's nature is agitation. So acceptance is the first step. In the program of recovery sponsored by Alcoholics Anonymous, the first step is for the person to say that he or she has no power over alcohol. This has to be accepted first, otherwise there is no hope of recovery. The same thing is true with everything, not just alcohol. I have no power over anger. I have no power over this restless mind. When I accept this, then half the battle is won. Krishna accepts this one great psychological fact, that the nature of the mind is agitation. One does not try to remove the agitation. One simply accepts that it is agitation. Do not get agitated over agitation, thinking that it is something you are going to solve. Also, do not think that your mind is something peculiar, because it is not. Any mind is agitation. Agitation is the nature of the mind because the mind has to change. It is meant to change. Try to imagine a mind that has a constant thought. A constant thought means that you cannot see anything else. 10 miles ago, you saw one tree, and still the tree is right in front of you. Nothing else is there. No car, no person, nothing. You would not even survive with such a mind. The mind must necessarily change. Just as in a movie, the frame must always be changing at a certain speed for you to be able to see objects, movement, etc. Here too, The mind has to keep changing all the time so that you can see. This is why the mind is called kshanika. One particular thought is always kshanika, meaning that it does not even last for a second. Just to say the word second involves so many parts, so many frames, so many changes, all of which are kshanika. This is the nature of the vritti, the thought. Even to recognize this fact, the mind has to be kshanika. I think we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. So we'll go take this, keep this in our mind, that we don't need to blame the mind for being agitated. Normally, the ahankara will not like to accept that I am powerless. I have no control over my anger. Ahankara will not like to say that. The ahankara in us would like to say, yeah, I will control my mind. I have a control over my anger. That is only the ahankara showing up its hood. So the first step is to just surrender and say, and accept the fact that the mind is agitation. Accept that you have no power over your anger, your sadness. Once you accept that, like it is said, Swamiji, even Gurudev says, half the battle is won. At least you're no longer agitated at that. So we'll stop here today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Thank you.